The Archers is a long-running radio soap. Well, it's set in a rural community, so instead of a soap opera, perhaps it would be better and more accurate to call it a manure opera. And it certainly has turned into one of those with its mouthpiecing of the Labour Party line. Disgraceful. I'm Granniopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds.
Farmers make very little money, work extremely hard, and they may be sitting on an asset, but when that asset goes, so does country farming, so does family farming.
I've never known farmers this angry or this distressed about their futures, and the fact they're coming to London today in so many numbers from all over the country shows just how worried they are.
I mean, they're feeling devastated. They feel this is a real body blow to everything that they've worked for.
And we're not going to attract that next generation into farming if what they see is a government that is choosing to neglect rural communities.
Did you notice how the Guardian labelled these MPs Tory MP? Not Conservative MP, not local MP, Tory MP. Here we are, Bradley Thomas, Tory MP. I am not sure, I don't suppose any of the Labour MPs joined in with this. Maybe they were told not to. But the point is that you can see from this that there are a lot of farmers there, very upset, very concerned. I've been told there are at least 4 suicides so far. Our government so far is doing pretty well on suicides, isn't it? It's managing to get people in the working classes to kill themselves, and now it's getting people in the farming world to kill themselves. I mean, they're really doing away with a lot of people, aren't they? But that's not the point. The point I'm making is that it's quite obvious that many farmers are really very concerned about this whole inheritance tax business. And yet the Archers, the radio soap that was originally started to give people an idea of country life, and actually it was originally started when it was just a local show to help farmers know about the latest innovations. For instance, I think the first one starts with Dan Archer, the first farmer in this series, retiring his working horses, Blossom and Boxer, I believe. Anyway, in favour of getting a tractor. And so it went on. They did a lot of stuff about new ideas in fertilizers or or whatever. And I do remember they did go for some sorts of propaganda. I was not listening out for propaganda at the time when I used to listen to the Archers, and I remember one show where 2 mothers were talking about a birthday party they were holding, or one of them was holding for her children, and she said she was going to make a lot of cheese twists or something, and then said, it's amazing, children really do prefer savoury snacks to those sweet things that we used to give them. And I thought at the time, yeah, right, somebody in the writing team thought that was a good idea. Anyway, apparently David Archer, I suppose is, as far as I remember, is the son of Dan Archer. I suppose Dan Archer's long gone now. I really did stop listening to the Archers a long time ago, and that was when they were pushing the Tony Blair line. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Some of you might actually remember it. But David Archer expresses mild concerns about the revised inheritance tax. Okay, so it's just a sort of general thing. Well, I'm a little bit worried about this. Not the sort of mass anger that you actually see in the farming community, just this mild concern. And then he's told by Leonard, whoever Leonard is, we need the extra money for the NHS. As if that will fund the NHS, which is a load of bunkum. The NHS is a monster that's eating up huge billions of the British economy. And the amount of money from these farms, it will destroy the small farming economy, but it won't do anything for the NHS. And then David responds to this, rather than saying what I just said. Oh, I suppose so. And that is such an egregious example of the BBC shoving a propaganda message down the throat of the people. It's unforgivable, but it's unforgivable for another reason. Just a minute, I've got to find it now. Here we are. Because you see, Tony Blair's government went for the farmers as well. And there was a serious problem when Tony Blair went to talk to the National Farmers Union, and he was booed and hissed during his talk. And yet, when the Archers when there was an Archers episode talking about Tony Blair, addressing the NFU, but basically, I don't remember which character it was, but one of the characters said, "Oh, what did you think of that marvellous Tony Blair speech? He was painting a wonderful, forward, progressive picture of farming in the future." That's what it was, something along those lines. A scene in The Archers in which two of the main characters talked favourably about the government's countryside policy was deemed inappropriate by the BBC yesterday. That is, when people complained, the BBC apologised and said, no, we got it wrong there. The Radio 4 soap had organic farmers Tony and Pat Archer discussing favourably the speech that Tony Blair gave to the National Farmers Union last week. And the pair backed the Prime Minister's pledge for a partnership with producers. And then the BBC high-ups told the Archers programme that they'd got it all wrong. The BBC has criticised, the BBC has criticised its rural soap, The Archers, for carrying a pro-government storyline in a recent episode. Listeners heard Tony and Pat Archer responding enthusiastically to Tony Blair's speech at the annual conference. The Prime Minister was actually booed and hissed at the conference. Programme makers have been advised to stick to guidelines to prevent further incidents that could be interpreted as bias at the corporation. And yet this is 20 years later or whatever, they're doing this and they're not even apologising for it this time. The gloves are off. The BBC is now absolutely and completely hand in glove with the Labour government and spouting their lines. And that's it. It didn't take them that long in the grand scheme of things to have David Archer expressing just mild concern about the inheritance tax and then shut down immediately with extra money for the NHS, which is what one of the cabinet ministers said. Yeah, like they really do need the extra money for the NHS. Yeah, and I understand they expect to get something like 500 million from all of this. and they're going to be giving 500 million to some farmers in Brazil. They didn't say that in the Archers, of course. Okay, till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.